I met you once before. You were having a conversation with a blogger. With Alexander Babichev, I think you were talking.
Possibly.
Yes, that happened. You're a historian, right? And you teach history, right? Or what? Or just for fun?
Yes, I teach.
Uh-huh.
I'm a certified historian. Show my diploma?
No, why? I believe you.
I'd have checked.
So, could you tell me, please, why are communism and fascism being equated right now? Why have they been put on the same scale?
This is because the communists and fascists together started World War II. And the Ukrainian people suffered from both the communists and the fascists. Well, actually, from the Nazis, not the fascists. Our law strictly prohibits the use and promotion of Nazi and communist symbols and propaganda.
So, how do fascism and Nazism differ?
Fascism is an Italian phenomenon, speaking in specific historical terms, while Nazism is a German phenomenon. And there are differences. Fascism doesn't have anti Semitism. Mussolini wasn't an anti Semite, but Hitler was. And so on. There are certain distinctions. So they are not the same thing.
And how did the Ukrainian people suffer from communism?
The famine of 1921 to 23, the famine of 1932 to 33, the famine of 1946 to 47, along with the destruction of Ukrainian statehood during the revolution of 1917 to 21. The brutal repressions that persisted continuously from the year 1918 all the way through 1991 and even continued beyond that period are significant.
And what was the cause of that famine, I wonder?
Which one?
The one you mentioned, 21, 22?
The one in 21-22 has at least two causes, a natural one and also the actions of the communists.
So, are you saying the communists intentionally starved the Ukrainian?
What I want to say is, I can tell you this. Please don't present your fantasies as though they were my words. I told you there are at least two reasons. The first reason is a natural one. The second reason was that Lenin, for a considerable period, denied the existence of famine in Ukraine, and agricultural products from famine-stricken Ukraine were transported to the starving Volga region within Russia. Because Lenin thought the famine was only there and not in Ukraine. That's one of the reasons. This doesn't mean that Lenin deliberately starved the Ukrainian people. This refers to the actions of the Bolshevik Party, specifically the removal of grain reserves from Ukraine and their transport to the Volga region.
It's just that somehow none of it seems logical.
Illogical? Read some logical literature, then maybe you'll find your logic. But if it's illogical to you now, what can I do?
It's just if, as you say, Lenin was like that, taking all the food from there, why do you still have monuments to Lenin? Well,
All monuments dedicated to Lenin throughout Ukraine have been taken down. Maybe some busts are left somewhere in certain areas like sanatoriums and so on. The monuments to Lenin have been taken down.
but they were just torn down recently.
Yes, just recently. And it was indeed recently that legislation was passed, equating Nazism and communism. Before that, it was illegal to take down such a monument.
So the Ukrainian people erected a monument to the very man who took their food away.
The Ukrainian people did not erect that monument themselves. These monuments were established by the Soviet power, which entered Ukrainian territory and designated these locations to indicate they belonged to the Soviet Union. The Ukrainian people did not erect these monuments. It was not a popular initiative initiated by the people.
But weren't there Ukrainians at the helm of the Soviet power?
There were Ukrainians, of course, there were, and Georgians and Jews and so on. However, the Soviet power, let me remind you, ascended to power in the Soviets of Petrograd and in Moscow as well. That's precisely where the Bolsheviks ascended to power, subsequently conquering the territory of the independent Ukrainian People's Republic. And for 3.5 years, armed conflict raged between Soviet Russia, where the Bolsheviks had come to power, and the Ukrainian People's Republic. This was a significant period of fighting. And even within the government of the Ukrainian People's Republic, there were Russians. Conversely, the Bolshevik Russian government included Ukrainians. This doesn't indicate that the Bolsheviks were exclusively Russian or Ukrainian. Rather, they comprise representatives from virtually all ethnic groups.
Well, that's your assumption.
It's not my assumption, it's the law of Ukraine.
No. You're saying that Lenin was exporting products from the territory of Ukraine and...
He explicitly ordered its removal. There are numerous letters from him directly addressing this. Simply consult the historical literature and read it for yourself. These are not my own assumptions. Rather, they are conclusions that historians have drawn from studying various documents. For some reason, you're constantly taking what I say and twisting it into my own assumptions. Those are actually your assumptions. I base my statements on the literature I've read, and you base yours on your assumptions.
Well, you're not the only historian. I've watched some YouTube videos and historians' opinions.
Literature on this specific topic, not just some historians you find on YouTube. Do you not trust what I'm saying? You don't need to believe me. I actually encourage everyone not to trust my words, but instead to delve into the literature themselves.
Modern literature?
No, literature from before our time.
Books can be rewritten in history, right?
They could rewrite them. What on earth put that nonsense into your head, and who put it there?
Our ancestors used to say that.
Were your ancestors fully aware of the entire situation? Did your ancestors ever read those letters from Lenin which were circulated with the top secret designation?
No, I don't.
No. However, the archives became accessible following the dissolution of the Soviet Union. Those letters from Lenin, which were under the top secret classification and weren't published in the full collected works of Citizen Lenin, eventually ended up in the hands of historians. Based on that information, historians drew their conclusions, but your ancestors could have been mistaken, since they didn't know about these letters.
Mm-hmm.
It occurs.
Well, I disagree with you. I certainly don't.
For goodness sake, of course you disagree with what I'm saying. You have thoroughly studied the literature on this subject and received a historical education. And now we're basically having a debate between two historians. What's your educational background? What's your educational background?
I finished high school.
High school. You disagree. Wonderful. I'm just thrilled that you don't.
From movies, yes, I've seen them.
Artistic.
A person, let's take Comrade Stalin, you also compare him to fascism.
Let's finish up with Lenin for the moment. What movies have you seen? Did those films discuss Lenin's classified documents that were declassified after the collapse of the Soviet? They didn't.
I've seen World War II movies.
Hold on, let's settle the question about Lenin first.
Well, Stalin was his.
Hold on, have we finished discussing Lenin?
No,
We did not.
You made Lenin a fascist, but he's our hero.
Firstly, I did not depict Lenin as a fascist, and secondly, he is certainly not a hero of mine. You are saying things that do not correspond to reality. Why are you doing that?
Well, you're briefly stating that because of him, many individuals in Ukraine perished from hunger due to famine.
Indeed, people did perish from famine because of Lenin. Does that then make him a fascist? No, he was a communist.
So is communism fascism to you?
No, we have equated them and outlawed them. However, that does not mean communism and fascism are one and the same. This implies that Ukrainian legislation prohibits the public exhibition of both Nazi and communist symbols. It is not allowed to name squares, streets, and other public places after Nazis and communists. You don't understand what I'm saying and are starting to twist my words. Pushkin was right. We can't foresee how our words will echo. I say one thing, you say, you said this. I never said that.
Then why do you have streets named after Bandera if you're not allowed to name streets after...
However, Bandera was not a Nazi. There is absolutely no evidence that he was a member of the Nazi Party or collaborated with Nazis. There isn't any. If you have some proof, he didn't fight. He was held captive from 1941 to 1944 in the German Nazi concentration camp Sachsenhausen. So, how could he have possibly fought?
So he didn't participate in any combat at all, is that correct?
He didn't participate in combat. He was a political leader.
But he just spoke out against the Red Army, right?
He was against Poland's occupation of Ukrainian territories, and from 1939 onwards, he actively opposed the occupation of Ukrainian lands by Nazi Germany and the Stalinist Soviet Union, consistently advocating for an independent Ukraine. Is that what you call Nazism?
And Stalin...
I asked you a question, hold on. Is that Nazism?
Nazism, in his instance, meant he supported. Wait, it actually means he didn't support Hitler, as it turns out.
How did he back Hitler? With his hands? How? What document supports that? Where? Who informed you of this? He was incarcerated in a Nazi concentration camp from 1941 to 1944 because on June 30th, 1941, in Lviv, he declared an independent Ukrainian state without the authorization of the Germans, the Nazis. In retaliation, the Germans confined him to a concentration camp, and some members of his party were executed in response to his actions.
So Stepan Bandera, along with his relatively small group, essentially stood up against two major powers, against Hitler and also against Stalin. Is that correct?
Indeed, regarding the organization, I am unsure of your reasoning, but Bandera devoted his whole life to the liberation of Ukrainian territories, initially from Polish occupation. He believed that the western Ukrainian territories, when taken over by the Poles in 1918, amounted to an occupation. And from 36 to 39, he was incarcerated in a Polish prison, and then from 41 to 44, he was held in a German one. So please provide me with a single fact that proves he collaborated with Hitler, with the Nazis. I am very much interested in hearing it.
I'm telling you, what army did he have?
Hold on. Provide the fact of Bandera's collaboration with the Nazis. You're the one who claimed he was a Nazi.
But it still leads to the same conclusion.
Wait, can you present a concrete fact? I'm attempting to make you critically evaluate the situation. Or maybe your understanding is wrong.
So you're asserting, listen here, you're saying right, that Stepan Bandera promptly went against both the Germans and the Red Army.
Immediately? Where did he go? He spoke up against it. He called upon his fellow comrades to actively resist and confront the Wehrmacht. Toward the end of 42 or the beginning of 43, the Ukrainian insurgent army was established, comprised of members from the Organization of Ukrainian Nationalists, an entity that Bandera headed. This UPA engaged in combat with both the German soldiers and the Red Army.
So what was the size of this army?
It varied at different times. Throughout the war, up to about 100,000 people passed through the Ukrainian insurgent army, but in terms of active combat strength, it was approximately 20 to 30,000 each year. But you still haven't answered my question at all. Hold on a second. You haven't addressed a single one of my questions yet. You keep asking me questions on and on, endlessly asking questions. Could you please present any verifiable facts regarding Bandera's collaboration with the Nazis? Perhaps you're aware of a specific document or piece of evidence.
Well, how would I know about any document?
How? Exactly. So how do you know he's a Nazi? Did they tell you that on TV?
Not just on TV. I've read articles.
Ah, so your ancestors told you about it.
Read articles.
Your ancestors' articles. You don't recall who penned those articles, do you? Of course, some random nobody. Here's a small book for you to read about Bandera.
Bandera's Life.
What an enormous book this is. You shouldn't be reading articles but actual books. This is a monograph, by the way, written by a German historian of Polish heritage. Here he attempts to, let me just tell you how many pages it is. How many pages? Across 600 pages he endeavors to demonstrate that Bandera was indeed a fascist, yet he utterly fails to do so. A professional historian penned these 600 pages.
And what year was this book written?
I'm not sure when it was originally written. Let me check if there's a date. It was re-released in Ukrainian. Let me tell you, it's from 2021, and it's freely available in Russian in the public domain. So go ahead and open it, read this little book, and you will come to understand the author's logic and all the facts he presents to support his arguments. Then you'll come here claiming you're unaware of certain facts, even though there are countless facts presented within it.
What facts? It's just a book, some archival documents. It's simply a book that Vasya wrote.
You haven't even read this book yet. You're telling me what this book is about. That's amazing.
I listen to historians.
This is the very book that actually possesses. I'll show it to you now, just to utterly convince you. Understand? This little book, it's about 600. Hold on, I'll tell you exactly how many pages. The very last page is page 623. The text found on this page inside this very book is 502 pages plus another 121 pages. I'm specifically showing this to you so you can truly understand what a monograph is, as you've likely never held one in your hands before. Additionally, over 100 pages serve as references citing numerous documents meticulously detailed in fine print. You see there, references are included for German, British, American, and Soviet archives. You haven't even held the book in your hands, yet you're already telling me what's written in it. Where do you get so much self-assurance, young man?
But I've heard our historians.
Where do you get so much confidence from, young man? You haven't even laid eyes on this book, yet you presume to start telling me about it. He simply compiled over 100 pages of archival references, all meticulously detailed in fine print. What do you mean, Did the individuals you watched on YouTube also present you with links to German archival documents written in a tiny font?
They told me they show documents.
I'm saying, do you understand what references to documents are?
Yes, there's this channel on YouTube, History Lab.
I'm telling you again, have they ever actually shown you specific references to documents?
The actual documents, not just references, were shown.
And here are the documents with their respective references. So what's your point? And what did it say? What document did they show you with Hitler's signature about an alliance between Hitler and Bandera?
There's this channel on YouTube.
Wait a minute, there actually is such a channel. It's excellent that it exists, and it's wonderful that it displays documents. So, did they show you a document signed and sealed by Hitler stating his collaboration with Bandera?
No, they didn't show that.
Then what? Where did you get the idea that... Just a moment. I'll ask the same question 150 times until you answer it. Where did you get the idea that Bandera collaborated with the Nazis?
Our historians say so.
Which historians? Could you please name at least one?
Oh, well, I'd have to dig for it.
Of course you won't dig for it.
It takes time to dig it up.
Time, of course.
Well, I'm telling you, there's this channel, the channel.
Yes, I'm sure there is such a channel. Only on that channel there isn't a single document about Nazi collaboration and Bandera. There are none.
Well, historians.
Historians. I'm a historian. I'm a historian. I'm a historian, see? I'm showing you the documents. Do you truly believe those historians? For goodness sake, believe in yourself. If your knowledge is based on faith, then believe.
All right. Could you please tell me, you've stated that communism, along with symbols of both communism and Nazism, are forbidden in your country. However, why then did I recently watch a video where your president was seen applauding a Nazi within the Canadian Parliament?
Well, because he wasn't. First off, the individual they applauded isn't a Nazi. That is untrue. Allow me to clarify. This individual was a combatant in an armed formation known as the SS Galicia Division. This division, the SS Galicia Division, similar to all other SS divisions, fell under the direct command of the SS. These were special assault detachments belonging to the Nazi Party. But not a single member of the SS Galicia Division was a member of the Nazi Party. The Waffen-SS divisions were, in essence, ordinary field divisions that reported to the SS structure, primarily along vertical lines. Nonetheless, they were actively deployed on the front lines to combat the Red Army. Not a single member of the SS division was actually a member of the Nazi Party. These individuals were soldiers who fought on the side of the Wehrmacht. These individuals were citizens of Poland until 1939. They were Ukrainians by ethnicity, but still Polish citizens. Between 1939 and 1941, these individuals were forcibly made citizens of the Soviet Union, a status they did not desire. They were compelled into citizenship against their will. And when the Germans arrived on Ukrainian soil, they harbored hopes that the Germans would aid in liberating them from the clutches of the Soviet Union. However, not a single member of the SS Galicia division was ever a Nazi.
Then why did the Speaker of Parliament apologize and step down from his position?
Because public opinion in Canada is generally unfavorable towards individuals who were members of any SS division. There's a concept known as public opinion. However, public opinion isn't always right. It can be mistaken. People are unaware that this individual was not affiliated with the SS. For them, any mention of either the SS division or the Waffen-SS is fundamentally negative and unacceptable, specifically because Canada was a vital member of the anti-Hitler coalition. And the so-called public opinion simply doesn't concern itself with whether he was actually a member of the SS or a Nazi. It's absolutely true that nobody cared about such things. Therefore, public opinion decreed that since this individual had fought on Germany's side, it was improper to extend a welcome to him or allow him into the Canadian Parliament. And Mr. Zelensky had applauded this individual before the news media, specifically newspapers and magazines, published reports revealing that this person had served in a Waffen-SS division. Because the head of parliament or whoever was representing this individual stated that this person was Ukrainian. He fought for the cause of freedom, which is why he was greeted with a welcome. However, it then became known that he had fought with a Waffen-SS division, and the prevailing public opinion in Canada compelled that speaker, or whoever it was, to step down from his position. That's precisely what happened.
Right, but what happens when the Germans...
Is that settled or still being discussed?
Yeah, they closed it. All right, but when the Germans entered Ukraine, when they had already occupied Ukraine...
Okay.
Did they bring freedom to Ukraine?
No.
They brought death there?
Yes. Before that, there was death from the communists. The Nazis came, and then there was death from the Nazis. The Ukrainian populace suffered at the hands of both the communists and the Nazis, which I told you about from the very start. That's precisely why both Nazi symbolism and Nazi ideology, as well as communist symbolism and communist ideology, are prohibited here.
Volodya.
Yes.
I just honestly, just talking.
Rethink it. Read some relevant literature. The appropriate kind.
Are you aware that even in Germany people celebrate the holiday of May 9th?
I'm aware. And we celebrate May 9th here too.
You were forbidden to celebrate it.
Where? Find the document. A resolution from the Verkhovna Rada banning the celebration of May 9th. Go on. Find it.
Well, that's just what people say, so I...
And they say pigs fly, pardon my rudeness.
That's your fantasy.
That was impolite of me. You place too much trust in everyone. Rather than that, what is your wife shouting about over there? Well, on one hand, an individual lives in a society battered by totalitarian propaganda, and on the other, they simply refuse to even consider it. He was told, he was shown a document with a seal, and it had Hitler's seal, although he didn't have such a seal, Hitler's signature. And it's written there, I, Adolf Aloisovich Hitler, hereby sign an agreement of cooperation with Stepan Andreevich Bandera. Well, it would be written in German, right? Not in Russian. And on the other side, Stepan Andreevich Bandera with his own seal and his own signature, I, Stepan Andreevich Bandera, agree to enter into cooperation with Adolf Aloisovich Hitler. And then they seal it all with mutual kisses to confirm their agreement. You know, basically like Molotov and Ribbentrop on August 23rd, 1939. Yeah, just like that. A perfect match.